Are you ready to monkey around? No? Well, maybe you need a sock monkey. I'm going to show you how to make one today. My favorite tools and tools that you might find helpful are as follows. Fabric scissors, pins, a marking tool of some kind. I'm using a water-soluble Choco pen. Basically, it washes off with water or it just kind of dissolves with the moisture in the air. I love them. You will need 2 felt cutout circles, or you can use buttons if you don't need it to be baby safe, and some black thread or black floss. I'm using a giant knitting needle. This one is size 15. I'm using it for turning the monkey right side out and for stuffing. Obviously, you'll need 2 socks. These are the Rockford Red Heel brand, and it's my favorite brand to work with. They also come with a pattern for the sock monkey. I'm using a template from the PJ Sock Monkey kit from Hobby Lobby. I don't know if they still have that. I made one when I was 14. My mom was going to make it for me when I was really little. Time got away from her and I made it myself. So this is what I'm using, just a piece of cardboard. It's about 2 3/8 inch tall and about 3 inches wide. I'll be using a clear grid line ruler, which is very, very helpful for me. You may want a seam gauge. Not sure, that's up to you. And then obviously you'll need some fluff. Let's turn these socks inside out. So the method I like to use best and doesn't stretch the sock out the most is to put my hand inside almost like a sock puppet. Hello! And then pull it right side out. You'll want to have one with the seam flat. And then I put a couple pins. I'll put one up here, put one towards the end, and I put one along this change of color. And you can also check to see if your seam will be straight here, if your pin lines up with that line. This guy you can set aside. And now we'll flip this one. Now with this guy you want to match up these corners, and what I do is I will take a pin, just one, place it through the seam here. There's a seam. I'll put it through that corner or point or whatever you want to call it, and then find this side and place it through. So then you'll have a straight toe seam. And I'll do that same technique with the heel, and then I'll pin the same way that I did for this other sock. Pin close to the cuff and pin through the change. Now we're going to make our ears. So using your template, you'll trace 2 of these. And I like to get them as close to the edge as I can because then that means the tail can be a little bit bigger. So there's one. And I like to stick a pin through it just to keep it secure. And now I'll do 2. Now we want to try and get this straight if you can. And this part can be folded up like that because we are going to trace out the tail and the arms. So this is where my ruler comes in handy. I usually do about 1 inch thick for the tail. And then I will measure this mostly in half, but I will make this piece larger because of the way that the seams work out. This one will have more stretch. That'll probably make more sense once you see it. So I'm going to do about 1 1/2 for the larger of the 2. And this probably won't be perfect, but that's okay. It'll just add some character to the monkey. So there are your arms, your tail, and your ears. And your mouth. I forgot about the mouth. This guy will be the mouth. Set that sock aside, and now we'll move on to the body sock. And basically, you'll just need to split this in half. And I usually go from about 2 inches away from the heel of the sock. Now you're done marking! Woohoo! Now to sew, you'll just go along your seam lines or a little bit away. I'll let you know as we go. For this one, just go along the edge as pretty much close as you can, maybe about a 1/4 inch away. And this again is using matching thread to the off-white. And I tend to go over my seams twice, if not 3 times, especially if I know if it's going to a very playful little one, because you want these to be very sturdy. So, unfortunately I just ran out of storage, but I was just stitching around the insides of the ears. This is my second time to go around, because I want to make sure it's nice and sturdy. And I've also sewn on either side of the line for the leg sock. For the cutting process, you just want to make sure you have all of your pins out of the way. And then I will cut out the mouth first. And again, I said you want about 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch for the mouth. Now I will cut the ears apart from the rest of the sock just because it's a little bit easier to manage there. And go up and cut the tail. So now I'll just go around and cut the ears pretty close to the lines that I traced off. And now for the ears, I'm going to go in and cut on that fold so that we can turn the ears right side out. Like that. I just realized I forgot to do another seam for this arm right here, so I'll go back and fix that after I finish cutting everything else out that I can. So right now I can only cut between these 2 seam lines. So we have one arm, and I'll go back and fix that. But in the meantime, we can also cut up between his legs. And I have a special trick I'm going to show you guys to help to where you don't have to re-knit after you stuff. So I just go a little bit past where I started sewing. I'm back! I went ahead and fixed my little boo-boo. Forgot to do some stuff. So now I'm going to show you the trick that I use so I don't have to re-knit after I stuff. I'll take a thread and sew it through. You don't need a knot because you'll be tying a knot. And then just tie it 1 or 2 times. And you want to make sure that you're not getting both layers at this point. And then just kind of do some lazy stitches, quick stitches, whatever, just to keep that from raveling. After you get that little bit of stay stitching done, you can go ahead and flip him right side out. So I just pull apart the 2 pieces, push it in a little ways with my thumb, and then I'll use my knitting needle without the sharp side, and then push it through this little leg opening, right like that. And then straighten that out a little bit, and then do the other one. And now just stuff all of these pieces don't stuff the mouth yet, because I'll show you how to do that later. So now that I have this little dude stuffed to my liking, he's still soft and squishy, but also firm and fat. It's a good monkey. So I'm just going to sew up this leg opening with some sturdy thread. Just kind of using a ladder stitch or invisible stitch. There's a couple different names for it. For this next step, you'll actually need one more tool, I suppose you could call it, than I let you know about at the first of the video, so I'm sorry about that. You'll need either DMC floss or floss of some kind, or you can use about 6 strands of thread. This is just the easiest for me. Just use an extra color that really won't show up if you do see it. So this way we're going to form his neck. I usually go down, 3.5 inches from the toe, maybe a little bit more. And you can redo it as you go along too, so that's not a big problem. And you will just tie, I like to go around twice because then it makes it more secure. And then just make sure it's pretty even all the way around. And then you'll tighten it and make sure that's about the size of the head you want. You can even hold on to that and then place your ear up around that area to make sure, yeah, that looks good to me, or no, maybe a little bit bigger, maybe a little smaller, whatever. Just kind of make your choice of distance. And then basically you're just trying to get all of the polyfill out of that neck area, and then I'll wrap the threads around, and that helps hold it. And just kind of manipulate the sock until you're really happy with the shape that it forms. So once you get it to an area you like it, go ahead and tie it again twice and pull it nice and tight. And then I go around on the back and I'll tie it again. And then instead of trimming it, I just wrap it nice and tight. And there's your monkey's happy little head. Ta-da! You can't see. I'm sorry. And neither can he because he doesn't have eyes. Let's put his eyes on soon. So now you're just going to fold your tail and your arms in a little bit. And I always like to make sure that my seam line, the part that doesn't look the prettiest, I will pin that to the bottom of where it will fold down. So from there, I just position it right about in the middle, and then I'll place a pin, and then stitch around that twice, because I've known a couple kids that like to swing their monkeys by their tails, poor things, but hey, maybe they think it's fun. The monkey fits with the child, right? So with this, sometimes the arms, I mean, no matter what, this arm has the seam on this side and on this side. For that one, I'll tuck this in like I did with the tail. Just kind of turn that inside out. And then put the seam line towards the front. Like that. So then it has one on the front and the back. Finding the seam, folding that down, and then again positioning that to where he looks pretty proportional. For the mouth, what I like to do is I'll pin it kind of inside out where I want it to be, and I try and line it up with the little seams on his head. And this is why you want a little bit of the red, or whatever color sock you're working with, to fold over. And I pin in a couple of places just to help hold everything since I don't have enough hands. And now I will stuff his mouth. Not a whole lot, just enough to make it slightly 3D and cute. Once I get his mouth sewn on where I want it, I will take the ears, and I usually try and get them to where they're both kind of pointing upwards to where the top is a little bit smaller than the bottom. And I'll pin it over the side of the mouth a little bit, and I'll just go up a little bit into his head area, and then make sure that this side is even, because you don't want one ear to be way up and one ear to be way down. Just make sure that it looks balanced and symmetrical. Little dude just needs his eyeballs. How exciting! Okay. For the eyes, I usually just place them where I think looks best. And then it looks painful, but I promise he doesn't mind. I just stick one right in the middle. One pin for each eye. And then if I'm using DMC floss, I'll just separate one strand. Hold that for me, dude. I start underneath and then come up somewhere on the middle side of his eyes-ish. And then I'll just stitch around. I don't do a blanket stitch or anything like that because it's black and it's small and you can't really see it anyway. So I just stitch it really secured. Well, if you weren't ready to monkey around before, I think you are now. Here is the finished little monkey dude. I'm so excited. He's really cute. And now this one has a friend. How exciting is that? So I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for spending some time with me today. And I hope you enjoyed today's craft. If you have any questions or concerns or anything like that, I would love to help you out if I can. Please don't be shy. Message me, comment anywhere on social media, on here, wherever. I'd love to be helpful. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.